Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to Microsoft Learn Student Partners Ambassadors event, Get Some Rest. My name is Shantanu Agarwal and I am the club lead at Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors SRM. And I've been a part of this club for almost 2 years now and a part of the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors program for more than a year. So before we actually begin this workshop, let me tell you a brief about this club that we represent over here. So the club was founded in 2014 by a bunch of Microsoft student partners, or as you were called in those days. And since then, dozens of students and student ambassadors and partners have passed out and gone out to achieve great things. We have been doing events at campus, off campus, in and around Chennai, and definitely inside the SRM campus at Chennai, where we belong. However, over the years, the style of our events has changed drastically, specifically this year, given the lockdown that started in March. We have shifted from physical events to completely digital events like this one that we are doing right now. And while our efforts haven't diminished at all, the love from you guys has really been amazing. We at the club love the community. In this year alone, we have carried out and successfully completed 12 community projects. These projects include a variety of clients, such as local shops, startups, and we also do a lot of internal projects. Local shops would typically represent any business that is looking to expand to the internet. And we have worked with startups. We have helped them get online. We have helped them. We have helped them make their websites in Gujarat, in Mumbai, and elsewhere as well. And I'm sure you all have heard about at least one of our internal projects. The most recent example being the Hair for You mental health app. We did a very active campaign for that just last month, and it was launched by our chancellor on the 24th of August. So obviously that's not what you are all here to listen to about. You are here for the event, and today we have some really good things for you in store from our beloved sponsors. So first up, we have Microsoft Azure, who's providing us with 3 Azure passes that will be given out as per the reward system. So when I say the reward system, don't get really confused about that. I will be going over that in just a few moments. Next up, we have XYZ. So we have dozens of domains on the XYZ portal to give out to participants. And I'll also talk about that in a few minutes. These will also be given out as per the reward system. Next up, we have Shubitech. Shubitech is an Indian software development company that specializes in web development, Android, iOS apps. cloud services, machine learning, AI, augmented reality, and much more. So, Shubitech is an event partner, and they will be offering 3 participants from today's workshop with internship opportunities. The CEO and the COO, Mr. Priyash Garg and Ms. Rabia Saigal, respectively, will be joining us at 7 p.m. today to talk a little bit more about their company and also to shed some light on the internships that they will be offering to 3 participants from this workshop. Finally, we have wavecoop.com. So again, we have 2 types of coupons from Wavecoop that will be distributed to all of you guys as per the reward system. So this workshop will be hosted by 4 speakers from our club. Starting from Ayush Mehta, we will be going over the basics and introduction of Node.js. And as we progress ahead with Akshat Khanna, Himanshu Ratan, and Mihir Singh, towards the end, you will be able to develop, deploy, and test a Node.js API on the Microsoft Azure platform. So what is this reward system that I was talking about all this while? So towards the end of the workshop, you will be receiving a feedback link. That feedback will present you with 2 options. So either the one on my left, you can take that, wherein you fill the feedback, and doing so gets you a certificate for participation in the workshop, as well as a 20% off wavecoop.com coupon. That is one way of doing things. The second one, which I personally recommend, is that you submit your feedback, and then along with the feedback, there is an option which asks you whether or not you want to submit the work or the API which you have developed in this workshop. So if you choose to submit your API along with some changes or improvements that you might want to make, you will be entering a contest with everyone else who also happens to submit their API. So everyone who submits their API will be getting an XYZ domain. After that, the top 3 entries of that API challenge will be getting Azure passes from Microsoft Azure. They will also be getting 40% off wavecoop.com annual memberships. And these 3 top participants will also be getting internship opportunities from Shubitech. Again, if there is any doubt regarding this reward system, our team is available on chat to review and solve your doubts. Also, there's a short brief summary for this reward system in the video description. You can have a look at that as well. So without any delay, let me call upon my first speaker, Ayush Mehta.
Yeah. Okay. So, hi everyone. Good evening. My name is Ayush Mehta, and I'm a third-year student at the SRM Institute of Science and Technology. Uh, I've been a part of the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors Club for the past 1 year, and my interests lie in full stack development. So, as a developer, I cannot insist more enough that REST APIs are really important. So, before beginning the workshop, let's get our basics clear. The first question that should arise in your mind is, what is an API? So what is an API? An API is an application programming interface. It is a computing interface which defines interactions between multiple software intermediaries. Sounds complex, but is really simple. It basically allows various applications and software to talk to each other. Now, what is the REST factor here? What is a REST API? The REST here stands for Representational State Transfer. Again, sounds very complex, but is very easy. This just means that it allows data to transfer. It allows data to transfer from one place to the other. But then why do we call it REST? I'll explain it better with an example. Consider a normal and traditional web page. There is a client and there is a server. A client will send a request to a server and will receive response in the form of HTML. Sounds great, works great, no problems. But what if what we wanted was not HTML? What if the client was something different, like maybe a mobile application or a single page application which requires HTML only once? What do we do then? So moving on to the non-traditional use case of this, we need data here. We don't want HTML. We just need data. This is where a REST API comes in. This is what makes a REST API better, is that it allows transfer of data and not just HTML. So whatever we've done now, a REST API is also different from other APIs in the matter of architecture. As you can see here, there is no direct communication between a client and a server. A server here has various endpoints, which we will also be building in this workshop. You can see endpoint 1, you can see endpoint 2, and you don't directly interact with them, you interact via methods, which we will also see in this workshop. These methods may include get, put, post, and delete. Now, as you can see, a mobile application will send a request to the method. The method will interact with the endpoint and will get the data for that. Now, this all sounds very simple, but then what really is making an API a RESTful API? This is all a traditional API, leaving the architecture part. This is just a normal API. What makes it a RESTful API? Well, there are certain constraints which need to be followed to make an API a RESTful API. Consider this for one fact: a stateless backend. This is the most important constraint. A RESTful API does not store client context, meaning a RESTful API is not concerned with what it is connected with. It does not have a client context. It does not store what client was connected to it. It does not care whether it's a mobile application. It does not care whether it's a single page application. It just stays connected. And the second thing is a clear client and server architecture. What this means is that there should be a clear demarcation between the user and the server side, a clear demarcation between front end and back end. Now that we are all clear with all concepts of a RESTful API, let's look at those methods I mentioned earlier. So when you're doing development, there are primarily four operations which you need to perform. Those are CRUD operations, which stand for create, read, update, and delete. Corresponding to each of these operations, there is a request. For example, we have the create operation. You want to create something on the server, you send a post request. Let's consider the example of a form. You have a form and you want its data to go to the server. So when you click submit, it posts all the data to the server. That is what is called a post request. Second is if you want to read something, you want what data is already on the server. That is when you put a get request. You want to see the form data, you put a get request. The third, delete, pretty much says what it does. It deletes whatever is on the server, but you need a reference ID to delete that. And similarly, the last request is a put or a patch request, which is used to update already existing data. Now that you know everything about REST API and the various operations, let's look at what we're going to be building today. We're going to be building a fact generator REST API. It is a random fact random fact generator, and we'll be having an endpoint called /facts for it. We'll try the various methods on the endpoint using Postman. We'll connect it to a database. We'll perform CRUD operations to it. We'll use parameters to update and delete, and we'll deploy the app on Azure. To give you a better example of this, I will just show you what we'll be doing. Right. So, right. So as you can see right now, we have the API here. This is called Postman. This is a testing tool which is used to test APIs. So by the end of the application, we will have this, which is the API which we'll be building and deploying. So you will all have your API. Now this is Postman. You put in your API here and you make various requests on it. We'll make a get request to show you that this API works. As you can see, it is now sending the request. And there you go. You have a random fact given by a random person. Now, if I want to send data to this server, I will use a post request. We'll go to body, raw, and then JSON. Now I'll add the data here. So we'll give a name for the fact. We can give any random name. We can give any random fact. So I'll give the sky is blue. And The author is again whatever you want. We'll go for, I don't know, God. So there we go. This is the fact, and now we send a post request. We send the post request, and it shows us the message that the post request is working. It gives us the ID, name, and the author. So those were the basic operations of the API which you will create. Now, without any further ado, you can begin. Handing it over further to Akshat to continue.
Hi guys, this is Akshat, and I again welcome you all to the amazing session. Get some REST, build REST API using Node.js. And I'm a full stack developer and also Python developer. I have been working in Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador Club from last 2 years in the technical team. So, as my friend Ayush told you, that we are going to build a project on Facts app. So, as he told about REST API, what is REST API, how REST API works, and what is the REST architecture, what are endpoints, and different types of protocols like GET, POST, patch, delete. Get is used to get the data from the server to the client, and post request is used to send the data from the client to the server, and patch is used to update some part of the data that is already present on the server. And we also have delete request. As name signifies, it is used to delete the data that is present on the server. So we will begin our project. So before moving forward, I assume that you guys have installed Node.js and Postman on your device, on your laptops. You can download and install Node.js and Postman from their official websites. I assume that you guys have already installed uh, both of them. So without wasting any further time, let's hop to the editor and start our own project, Facts app. So first, I'll uh, go to my project folder. So here I am inside my project folder. I'll quickly create a new folder called Facts app. So here I have my Fact app, new app created inside my project folder. So I'll in this address bar, I'll write cmd. This command help you to launch your command prompt inside this directory. So in my command prompt, I am currently inside Facts app. So to launch my code editor, I'll write code space dot. This command is used to launch VS Code inside your current directory. I'll hit enter. I'll wait for a few seconds for my VS Code to launch. As I can see, my VS Code is launching in the background. I'll close this command prompt as I don't need it further. Yeah, as I can see, my VS Code is up and running. So uh, after I'll tell you a bit about VS Code. Inside this, on the right hand side, we'll be having our code editor, and on the left we have our folder structure open. So I'll and VS Code has a very good feature that it has a built-in command prompt. When I go to this terminal option, I get an option to launch a new terminal. I'll quickly launch the new terminal. I need to wait for a few seconds for my terminal to launch inside my VS Code. So I can see that my command prompt is running inside my VS Code, and I'm inside my facts folder. So now let's begin with our project. So first command we'll write, that is npm init. This is the command used to initialize or create your Node.js project. Whenever you are creating any Node.js project, you need to write this command. So as soon as I hit enter,
Okay, Akshat, while that happens, let me just ask everyone watching us on the stream, uh, participants, I hope everyone has installed a Node using the link that we gave in the email. Can we please have a quick acknowledgement on the chat regarding this? A small yes would do great deal, or even a no if you have not yet installed Node.js. That would be very helpful for us to proceed accordingly. That's a lot of yeses. Yes, thanks. Thank you, everyone. All right, that's in fact very great, very much, very nice. Yeah, Akshat, you can carry on. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
yeah, and everyone, my favorite code editor is VS Code. Please tell your favorite code editor in the chat section. I'm waiting for that. Please, all of you, type your favorite code editor in the chat box. But for this project, we'll be using VS Code only because at the time of deployment, it will be very easy for us to deploy. So as soon as I wrote my first command, that was npm init to initialize or create my first Node.js project. After entering into the command, it is asking me to write the package name. So I'll leave it by default by pressing enter. Version, again by default 1. Description, we can add it later, no issues. Entry point is nothing but the main file or the starting file of your project. So again, we can change it later. As of now, it is not required, so we can hit enter and keep hitting enter. Then it will, yeah. So now it is asking me for the confirmation, like if I want to move forward. So yes, I want to move forward. I'll press enter. As soon as you press enter, you will notice that I'll come out of the command, and here inside my facts app folder, I have one package.json file created here after this command. So I'll quickly click on that. I have here my package.json file open. So I'll tell you what is this package.json file. Package.json file is nothing but a configuration file of your project. All the configurations related to your Node.js project are stored in package.json file. As we can see, we have the name of our project, that is facts app. We have the version of our project. We have description, and the thing which I want to highlight is scripts. We have scripts here. The commands that are used to run your project or start your project, that comes under this script tag. So this is inside a object. I want to tell you that what is a object. Object is nothing. It is just the any data that is inside the curly braces in JavaScript is called object, and objects are nothing but key value pairs. So in this case, the key is test and the value is this one. So yeah, this is object and it is a key value pair. As we have created package.json file, I'm waiting for all to complete till here. And as soon as you complete, please put it in the chat box, yes, so that we come to know that you have reached till here.
Hey, Akshat, people are asking in chat if they can do it in Sublime. What's your take on that? Can
Uh,
they do so?
I like few of them are asking in chat that whether they can use Sublime. So I would say I would prefer VS Code because at the time of deployment, we will be using a extension to directly deploy our project on Azure. We will directly deploy our project on Azure. So in VS Code, we have an extension to directly deploy it. So it would be, I will strongly agree that everyone should use uh, VS Code for the project. As soon as you guys complete, please write in the chat section so that we can move ahead. I would request everyone to please pay attention as throughout our event, we have many surprises for you all. Please be attentive and pay attention because we have many surprises for you all. So please follow along. Yeah, so now we'll move forward. Uh, you can come to this left section where you have this folder. In this folder, please right click and choose the first option, that is new file. New file, keep the name of the file as server.js and hit enter. As soon as you hit enter, we have that server.js file running in the code editor. So now I will import few packages that are required. First, I'll write yeah. So first I have declared a constant of the name HTTP. So I have imported this HTTP package that is inbuilt already included in your Node.js. Which this HTTP package helps us to receive request and send back the response to the client. So this package, we need not install any package. This is inbuilt and easily we can receive request and send back the response. So it is also helpful for creating the server. After doing this, I will, and to tell you what this const mean, const and let, let and const, const are two different next generation JavaScript syntax for declaring the variable. So again, I'll declare another constant, that is port. Yes, so I have declared my port constant that has a value. Please try to understand this syntax because it is very important. I have written process.env.port. What does this mean? So if when this project will be complete and we will be deploying it on Azure or any other service, we will be deploying this project. So what different service provider or cloud provider do, that they set an environment variable called port on which their service is running. For example, port can be anything like 3000, 6000, 8000, 8080, and many other different ports also. So the cloud provider tells or declares a environment variable called port. So if it founds any environment variable named port, so that value will be automatically supplied here. And if it does not find port, then it will the our service will be running on 3000 port by default. So if it does not declare any port variable, environment variable port, then it will be running on 3000. After doing this, again, I'll declare a constant server and I'll be using the HTTP package that I have included, imported. Okay. So in here I have imported the HTTP package and inside that HTTP package, we have a function called create server. We are using that function. This sixth statement is not yet complete because I need to provide a parameter inside this function. So I'll simply put a comment here to be changed. This green piece of line is nothing but a comment. What I will do is when I will come back to this file, I will easily come to know that I have to modify this line. So for simplicity and so that I can remember where I have to choose, I put this statement so that when I come back to this file, I can modify this line. Okay, so our last line would be server dot listen. Inside this function, I'll give port as a parameter. As soon as I give this, our server will be running on the port that we have declared here. So this port is nothing but 3000. Okay, then I'll hit Control S to save this file. I am waiting for you all to complete till here. As soon as you guys complete, please put in the chat section yes, so that we can move forward.
Yes, Akshat, you can continue.
Okay, so yeah, now I'll again come to this left section. I'll hit my right click and choose the option new file. I'll type app.js. So and then hit enter. I have my app.js file running here. So now to create APIs, we need to install some of the dependencies or uh, packages that would make our API development easier. I'll come back to the terminal down. I'll write the command npm install dash dash save express. Okay, I'll explain what is this command. Here npm stands for Node Package Manager. Node Package Manager is a tool that is used to install the package that are required for your project. So using npm Node Package Manager, I am installing the package called Express. So Express package is used to make APIs because it makes our API development very easy because it has inbuilt function to accept requests from different protocols like get, post, or something. And you guys might have noticed that I have written a flag dash dash save. What does this mean? Dash dash save. I'll tell you in few seconds that what it makes difference to our command. I'll hit enter. We need to wait for a few seconds for the Express package to install. As we can see that Express package is being installed. Please wait for a few seconds for it to complete. Yeah. So as you guys can see that Express package has been installed inside our project. And to show you what was the meaning of this slash dash dash save flag, I'll go back to my package.json file. I am back into my package.json file, and here I can see that a new object has been created that is dependency. Inside this dependency, I have all the packages that are required for my project. So as we installed Express, it is listed here. And in future, in this event, as we will move forward, we will be installing many other packages. So those all the packages would be listed out inside dependencies. And yeah, dependency. Now we have done with this. I'll move back to app.js file. Inside app.js file, I will import my Express package that I have installed as I did for HTTP package. I'll do the same for this. Yeah, so we have imported Express, and after this, I'll again declare a constant app, and I will store. I'll create app as the object of the package that I have installed. So I have successfully created the object. After this, uh, we will be also requiring a package that is used to log our request that we receive on the server. So I'll come back to the terminal down. I'll write the command npm install dash dash save Morgan. So this Morgan package is used to log our request that we receive on the server. For We will be seeing Morgan in action when we will run the server. So at this time, uh, it will tell us that from on which route we are receiving the request, and the server is sending back what response. So we can easily get the information about that. So I'll hit enter to install Morgan. We have to wait for a few seconds. Okay, let me check. Yeah. So we can see that Morgan package has also been installed, and that is present inside our package.json file. I come back to my app.js file. Here I will again import Morgan as we have imported other packages. Yeah. So we are using Morgan as a middleware. Inside this, as soon as a request comes to our server, we pass the request through Morgan. Then it is logged inside our terminal or command prompt, and then the request is carry forward to the next function. So I'll write app.use. Yeah. Inside app.use, I have to declare app dot app.use has accepts one parameter. So I'll declare a arrow function which takes parameter request, response, and next. Wait a minute, wait few minutes. I'll explain what is the arrow function. By the time you can copy the command. Yeah. So what is arrow function? When in JavaScript, whenever we want to declare any anonymous function without any name, so that is arrow function. It has a syntax of equal to and greater than symbol. So and if we want to provide some parameters, it is request, response, and next. We can always provide it by putting commas. So here uh, we have declared the arrow function. Inside this arrow function, I'll send the response back to the client. As soon as we receive the request on the server, I'll send the response back to the client. Yeah. So now I'll explain you the syntax. Here I am sending the response back that I will receive to the client, and here we have the status code. I'll explain you what is the meaning of this status code in few minutes as we move ahead in this project. So I'll explain you what is the meaning of status code and what are the different status codes. And here we have the JSON that refers to the data that we want to send to the client back. So I am sending a object, as I told you earlier, object is curly braces with key value pairs. So our key is message and the text that we will sending back is welcome to facts app. So I'll hit Control S, and yeah, we the most important thing is module. Yeah. So here what I'm doing is I am exporting the app that I have declared above. So here I have declared the app, I have used it here, and then I am exporting using this line. What does exporting mean? That when I export this app from here, I can use it inside my project anywhere. So I can import app simply, and then I can import it anywhere inside my project. So I'll wait for 2 minutes for you all to complete till here. Please put in the chat section when you have completed. Yes, so that we can move ahead. So I'm waiting for you all for 2 minutes.
Yes, actually, you can continue.
Yes. Uh, so I'll come back to my folder structure. Here I'll again right click, or yeah, wait. As we have exported this app here, I'll go back to this server.js file. Inside the server.js file, we have to import the code that we have written inside app.js file. So as we import our packages, in the same way, we have to import the function that I have exported inside app.js file. Const app equal to require, and inside the same directory, so I'll put dot slash app. So please understand this syntax. Inside the current directory, I have to import from the file app. No need to put .js because Node.js handles it smartly. So no need to put .js, and app is enough. So the function that we exported in app.js file has been imported here, and it is available in the variable app. Yeah, so as we have successfully imported app, now I'll come back to this line where I wrote to be changed. I'll remove this, and I have to pass app as a parameter inside this function. So I have uh, supplied this app as the parameter. I'll hit Control S, and I will come back to my terminal or command prompt. I'll write command node server.js, and I will hit enter. As soon as I hit enter, I'll go back to my web browser and check whether our app is running fine. So yeah, here I am inside my web browser. Hope my web browser is visible to all. Yes. So as soon as I type the URL localhost colon 3000 and hit enter, I received the message that I was sending in the JSON. So I got the response, welcome to Facts app. Yeah. So that means our server is running successfully and we have created and set up our server. So as I told you, the function of Morgan, we can see it in the command prompt. Like we received a get request on slash and the response that was sent back was 200. It gets logged inside the command prompt. So to stop server, always use control plus C. As soon as you hit control plus C, the server stops. Yeah. So we have till now we have created our project. We have initialized the Node.js project. We have imported HTTP package and created a server that is listening on port 3000. And then we have app.js file where we are handling the request that we receive. So, and if we receive any request on our server, we are sending the message, welcome to Facts app. Yeah. So till here, I'm waiting for you all to complete so that we can move forward. So whenever you complete, please put yes in the chat section so that we can move forward. I'm waiting for you all.
Akshat, you can continue.
Yes. I'll come back to this project or my folder structure. I'll hit again my right click and then choose the second option, that is new folder. I'll create a new folder. Please choose the second option. I'll do it again. Right click, then the second option, new folder. Inside this, I'll create a folder API and hit enter. So I have my API folder created here. Again, I'll go back. I'll right click on API and choose the second option again, that is new folder. I'll keep the name as routes, routes, routes. And again, I'll hit enter. So my folder structure is, this is the root. Inside the root of my project, root is nothing but the main folder of a project where all the files are listed. Inside this, I have API folder. Inside that API, I have routes folder. So API, then inside API routes. So again, right click on routes and choose the first option, new file. Now simply write, name your file as facts.js. Yeah, as soon as you hit enter, we have facts.js file launched up in the editor. Yes, so again, as we did earlier, I'll import the express package. As we can see that I have imported the express package, I'll again declare a constant router and I'll use the inbuilt function, that is router. So what I'm doing here is, from the express package that I have imported here, I am creating a router. Router is used to define routes. Routes are nothing but, like, you guys have noticed that whenever you go to google.com and then search something, you get a domain like google.com/search. So that slash search is nothing but your route. And sometimes you also call it endpoints in the API. So now using this routes that I have declared here, yeah, so routes dot get. So this is a function uh, that accepts the get request whenever we receive on any route and handles it. So it takes two parameters. First is slash. This is nothing but the root of. Before moving forward, like I would like to go back. I can save this file. I can go back to my app.js file. Here I am inside my app.js file again. Like this code was for testing. I can remove this code inside my app.js file. Here I have app.use. So what I will do is it also takes two parameters. So first parameter I will give facts. Fact. So what it will do is then I'll put comma. And as I told you earlier that whenever I want to change a file, I'll write a comment to be changed so that it is easier for me to come back to this file and I come to know that I have to modify this line. So what it will do is as soon as I receive any request on slash facts, our URL will be localhost colon 3000 slash facts. So as soon as it receive request on this, it will automatically transfer that request to a function that we will be passing as a parameter here. So because we haven't wrote the logic of that, so I am leaving it here. So we will come back and we'll modify this line. So I'll hit Control S. Yeah, so I'll go back to my fact.js file. Here I'm inside my fact.js file again. Routes.get, and inside this I have the root. Slash means the current route where I am. So slash facts. So I am currently inside localhost colon slash facts. So when I will be deploying this project on the server, I will be having the URL something like xyz azurewebsites.com slash facts. So this is my current location or path. And then I will, yeah, so I'll put comma so that I can give other parameters. And now, as I told you earlier also, I'll declare a arrow function, same as we did earlier. Request, response, and next. So this is again, I have declared an arrow function. This is the anonymous function in JavaScript. What I will do is response dot status. What I'll do is as soon as I receive any request on slash facts, get request on slash facts, what I will do is I will send a response to the client with status code 200. Uh, so I'll tell you what are the different as if any status code is starting from 1, that means 100 or 1 or that means the server is trying to provide any information. And if the status code is starting with 2, like 200, 201, 202, 203, something like that, that means that a server is sending the response that everything is okay, your request is accepted, and everything works fine, everything is okay. And if we have status code 300, starting with 3, 301, 302, or 303, that means any additional information is required or something is missing, or it is also used for redirection. Like uh, you guys have noticed that in some of the contact form, we have first name, last name, and email. For example, if someone sends only first name and last name and did not send his email address, so what API will give response that we need additional information to process your request. And in the same way, we have 400 starting status code starting with 400, and the most famous one is 404. That is resource not found, page not found. You might have seen many a times. So and 400 is bad request. and 401 is unauthorized. For example, I'm building an admin panel /admin, and I want to give the authority only to some users. I don't want that every user should be able to access that /admin route. So what I will do is, if someone else apart from the admin tries to access that route, I will send the response 401 unauthorized. So the client will come to know that he is not authorized to that resource which he is looking for. And in a similar way, we have the status code starting from 5, like 500. That means server error. If our server, many times what happens is our server encounters with some errors inside our code, or it may be any reason. So it sends back the response 500. That means server error. So I have told you about all the status code that we generally use. Now, along with this, we will send the data. As we did earlier, everything is same. I'll send the message. Yeah. So when it will receive a get request, because we have declared get, so it will send the response 200 code and the message get request works. Uh, so to handle post request, what I will do is same
Akshay,
routes.
Akshay, just a small typo on line 6. Instead of routes.get, it will be router.get.
Oh yeah, it is router.get. Here, please change this and router.get. Yeah. So router.post. Whenever we receive any post request, it will be handled by this function. So again, in a similar way, I have request. In the similar way, I'll copy this and create the same for delete request. Instead of post, I'll write here delete. And yeah, and one more thing, I'll make some modification in the route here, like it will be. Yeah. So please try to understand this syntax, as it is like it is quite common, because we will be creating many facts that will be stored inside our database. So we don't want to delete all the facts that are there on the database. We want to delete only a specific fact. So every fact that is stored in the database has a unique ID. So what we will do is we will pass that ID inside this uh, here as the parameter in the URL. So what I will do is slash, then I will provide the uh, ID of that fact that I want to delete. So we can capture this fact ID from this parameter, and then we can write the logic to delete the fact from the database. So that will be covered ahead in this workshop. So I'll write delete request works. After doing this, the last line that I have to do is that we did in app.js. Same, we have to export this. Yeah, so we have completed. I'll hit Control S to save the file, and we have completed this fact.js file. I'll wait for 2 minutes for you all to complete. As soon as you guys complete, please comment in the chat section so that we can move ahead. I'm waiting for you all. Yeah. So as you guys must have seen that as soon as we make any changes inside our project, and yeah, uh, just a minute, I'll make some few small changes. Yeah. So as we have seen that after making any changes inside our file, we have to stop the server using Control C. Then we need to write again the command node server.js to run it again. So in the development, this process is very tedious. We need to do it again and again. So for doing that, we have to automate the process. We have a special package called that we'll be installing. That is, I'll tell you. Save. Yeah. So what I am doing is the name of package is Nodemon. I'm installing this package. So what it will do is it will keep an eye on my project. Whenever I make changes to any file, what it will do, it will restart my server. So that it becomes easier for me. I don't have to stop the server and run it again. It will restart the server on its own. And you might be wondering that what is dash dash save dev. So this is I'll tell you in few seconds. As soon as I hit enter, we have to wait for a few seconds for Nodemon to install. As I can see that Nodemon package is installed. I will go back to package.js file and explain that what was the use of this dash dash save dev. The use of this is what it does is it's create an entry inside as package.js file of all the development dependencies that we have. So Nodemon is nothing but a development dependency. What is a development dependency? Development dependency is something that we use at the time of development. So Nodemon is something that we are using now because we are developing the project. But when it will be deployed it on the server, then we don't need to change anything. So that is not the package that is required for the project. So we call it development dependency. So it comes under here inside the package.json file.
Akshat, can you switch to app.js for a minute?
Yeah, sure. Here I have switched back to app.js file.
Yeah, you can carry on. Thanks.
Yeah. As you guys have noticed that I have exported this from fact.js file, the router that I have created and used here, I've exported. So now router is available throughout our project. We can import it in any file and then we can use it easily. So I'll come back to my app.js file. I'm inside my app.js file. Now what I will do is, uh, as I have imported the other packages in the same way, I will import VS Code makes it extremely easy because of its autocomplete feature, so that we don't have to write everything. It makes our development process very easy. I have imported the facts router that we have created in facts.js file and stored it in the variable facts router. And this is our facts.js file. No need to put fact.js in front of it. That is smartly handled by Node.js. Yeah, so after declaring this, what I will do is, as I wrote the line to be changed, I'll remove this comment and paste it here. Fair. So now I'll explain you the flow once again. As soon as I receive the request, localhost colon 3000 slash facts, it will pass on that request to this function. So what is this function? This has been imported here, and the request will go back to facts.js file, and it will be handled in this file. So yeah, we can save this file. After doing this, I will go back to my package.json file, and I will include one script that is a start script. So it will be used for starting our project or the Node.js server, that is Nodemon server.js. Don't forget to put comma here after this test line. Put a comma, and then in the second line you can put your start script, that is Nodemon server.js. Nodemon is the same package that we installed a few minutes ago. For running the server, I will come back to my command prompt down here. I will write the command npm start. As soon as I hit enter, it will automatically fire up Nodemon and run my server.js file. We have to wait for a few seconds for server to start. Yeah. As soon as I get this output inside my command prompt starting node server.js, this means that our server is running. After doing this, what I will do is I'll go to Postman and tell you what it is. It is a very amazing tool that makes testing that easier the testing of our APIs. So I'm inside my Postman. Here you guys can see that there is a plus button. I'll press the plus button to open up a new tab. Here I have a new tab. Inside this is like a web browser. It is very easy. But the difference is that through web browser we can only send GET request. Whenever you type www.google.com, what it does is it sends a GET request to the Google server and it sends the web page back to you. So we are unable to send any other type of request. So but in Postman, we can, through this drop down, we can send a variety of different requests like get, post, put, patch, delete. These are some of the majorly used requests that we generally use. So I will be sending a get request, and in this address bar, I can type the URL. So my URL will be localhost colon 3000 slash facts, and I'll come here and I'll hit this submit send button. Yes. So here is the response. So we received the response, get request works. Yeah. And here we receive all the response back to the client. We can see it here. And I'll change the protocol. I'll do it post. I'll send a post request to slash facts. I'll hit send button. I received the response. Post request works. And in the similar way, if I'll send delete, but with delete, I need to send the ID as well. So I'll do it fact slash one. That means ID one. As soon as I hit enter, I'll receive the response. Delete request works. As we have set up the basic requirements and basic handling of our protocols, I will go back to the project and here inside the code, yes, inside the code uh, now we will be now you can close and this close this server. This is I'll just hit control plus C and then the server will stop. We have to install one more dependency, that is npm install. Yeah. So what is this package body parser? Body parser is nothing but whenever you submit a form, you guys might have filled many forms, contact form on many websites, like which asks for your first name, last name, email ID, message. So what happens is that that form data that you enter gets submitted, and along with the request, it goes to the server. And inside the server, all the details are extracted from that request. So I'll hit enter to install the package body parser. Don't forget to put dash dash save so that it creates a entry inside package.json file. Yeah. So as soon as you receive this, that means your body parser has been installed successfully. I'll go back to my app.js file and import my body parser that I've installed now. I'll write body parser. I'll require in the same way as we have imported the modules earlier, we'll do it in the same way, body dash parser. So I have imported body parser here, and I have to just write two commands, two syntax that are also mentioned in the body parser documentation. If you search body parser on Google, you can reach the documentation. So I'll write those commands, body parser dot URL encoded. It is a function that takes parameter extended false. So what does this mean is like whenever we receive any response or form data, that can be in any format, but we want a uniform format for all our responses. So we will make it false. If the value of extended is true, then we can receive any kind of format. But we want a uniform format, so we are using extended equal to false. Yeah. So what it will do is app.use body parser.json. It will modify the data that it receives from the request and convert it to JSON format. So I am waiting for you all to complete till here, and please put yes in the chat section so that we can move forward. Yeah. So I have imported body parser. I'll go back to the file facts.js. Here I am inside my fact.js. So the sending of data can only happen mostly happens in the post request, because post request is used to send the data from the client to the server. So I'll quickly create a constant fact. What it will do is it will receive all the facts that are sent through postman or any client. Name, this will be the name of the fact. So it has the regular syntax like request.body.name. So what I will do is I will send the data inside this name variable, and it will be stored here. And then I can also pass the author of the fact, request.body.author. Yes. And after doing this, what I will do is I will send this author back to the response to the client. Yes. And I'll hit Control S. Again, I'll go back to the command prompt and write the command npm start to start my server and hit enter. Yeah. As my server is running, I'll go to Postman. Yeah, so my URL will be localhost colon 3000/facts, and I will be sending a post request. After choosing post here, go to body. Inside body raw, because we will be sending raw JSON. So raw, and then through this drop down, I will choose JSON. Body, then raw, then from this drop down JSON. So JSON is always inside the curly braces. So I'll write curly braces, hit enter. I'll come here. Then I will include the name. Then I'll put author. Yeah. So after doing this, as soon as I hit the send button, yeah. So what I get is this message. Message is post request works, and we have the created fact here. The name that I sent was Delhi's capital of India, and the name of the author Akshat Khanna. So I received that back in my response. Yeah. So that's it from my side, guys. Hope you have enjoyed, and we will be moving forward in this project. We will be connecting it. We will be creating database and connecting it to the database so that we can store the facts in the database and retrieve the facts. So that session will be taken by Himanshu Bhaiya and Ayush. And that's it from my guys. That's it from my side. And you can connect me on LinkedIn. And yeah, so please be excited that because we have many surprises for you all in the end. Over to you, Ayush.
Hello, thanks, Akshat. Before we move on to the next session along with Ayush Mehta, we have a special guest of the day with us today, right now on Teams. I would like to introduce CEO and founder of Shubitech, Mr. Priyaksh Garg, and co-founder and CEO of Shubitech, Mr. Abhay Sehgal, with us today. Sir and ma'am will be talking a little about their company and about the internship opportunities that they have for us today. And if time permits and if they allow, we would also like to have any questions from the chat put forward to them. Before we continue, there is a small video from Shubitech. Let's watch that first. That was a nice video. Do we have you here with us? Rabia ma'am, are you available?
Yeah, hello everyone.
Hello, hi ma'am.
Hello.
Ma'am is the CEO and COO and co-founder of Shubitech. She'll be carrying it forward from here. Thank you.
Hello. Yes, sir. Sir, there is some problem that screen is not sharing. Can you please on our PPT and we are not visible the video which you played. The video is not visible here.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back. Sorry for the delay. We had a little technical issue, but we were back to it. So we are right where Akshat left us. Now we need to connect it to the database. But before we do that, we have just one little thing we need to take care of, and that is a CORS error. You might be wondering what it is. So CORS stands for Cross Origin Resource Sharing. So to explain it to you better, I will just show you an image. So if you can see this, this is what a CORS is. You have a client, you have a server, and if they're both on the same origin, then there is no problem in communicating. That is, the data can be shared easily. An origin difference can be made by a port number also. For example, let's have the client on localhost 3000 and the origin, that is the server, on 3000 as well. Now there will be no problem in communicating data. But imagine if the client is on localhost 3000, but the server is on localhost 4000. That creates a problem as the browser has some security measures. Now, when we're using a RESTful API, what will happen is the client and the server will be on different origins. So how do we take care of that? Basically, what is this error? So what the cross-origin resource sharing error is that the browser does not allow server and client from different origin to communicate. So how do we resolve this? If there was some way in which we could communicate from the server to the client that this data has been changed, that you can access this data, you have permission, that would just do our job. So to do that, we will have to use something. We'll have to write a middleware function. So to write this middleware function, we need to access all the requests and give back all the responses and give that function whatever information that we want from the server to reach the client. And that will happen in a response. So we want to place this middleware function somewhere where we receive all the requests and it is before all the responses. So what we do is we place it somewhere here, that is between the middleware functions and right before the routes so that it has access to all routes. So what we are going to be doing is we're going to be writing a middleware function. So we start with app.use. As Akshay defined earlier, we're going to be using a request response and next middle function, middleware function. And there we go. Now what we want this function to do is we're going to be adding something in the header of the response. A header is a part of the entire object which is sent back and it usually remains static. Now I want to add it to the header to allow access to a particular origin. So we are going to be writing response.header and then we're going to be writing access control allow and origin. What this does is it allows all origins access. And the second parameter which we have here is the origins which we're giving access to. Now there can be different origins. For example, you can give access to msclubsrm.in to access that. But we don't want to do that. We want to give it access to everything. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be putting a star. That gives it access to all the origins. Now the next thing we want to give access to is the headers. We write the exact same thing, so you can just go ahead and copy it. And then here, now what you want to change this to is you want to change it to access control allow instead of origins. You want to change it to headers. And this is a headers with a S, not just header. Now you want to connect it to all the headers. This will basically allow all headers. Headers have different components like authentication, which are really beyond the scope here. So we'll allow all headers again here with the star. We can allow particular headers, but we don't see any reason now. The next thing we want to do is we want to check if the methods request has access to the options. What is a request? Methods request basically, whenever you send a post request, a method request is also sent. That gives that returns to the client what all functions can be implemented by it. So basically it tells the client that this can happen. Now we want to enable that also. So we will put it under an if block and we will check if the request.method, the method of the request, if that is options. That is, if it is checking for options, then we want to allow them. And how do we do that? We put that in this block here. Again, the same thing, we're going to be copying the response header, and we want to allow access control allow instead of origin and headers. This time it's methods. These methods are exactly those which I told you in the beginning. For example, we have put, we have get, we have post, we have delete, and we have catch. Now with that, we have successfully given it permission. And the next thing we want to do is make sure that this has confirmed and this has been executed perfectly. So we're going to go to return. Now we want a result with a status of 200, as Akshay told you earlier. And then we want this in a JSON, but in an empty object. Now this part is over. And the last thing which we need to do is we need to hand over control to the next function so that it does not go into a continuous loop and does not access this at all. I hope you all followed clearly till here. This is the fact. This is the last error which we resolved before we connect to the database. Now, the next thing we're going to be doing is connecting to a database. The database which we're using here is MongoDB. MongoDB is a NoSQL database. And for that, I just want you to go to your browsers and Google MongoDB and click on the first link that appears. It should look something like this. So this is what happens when you land up on the MongoDB page. Now, there can be different ways of using MongoDB. We can use it locally on the computer itself, or we can use it on the cloud. We're going to be using the cloud version here because it is simpler for us to deploy it that way, and it is more convenient also. So if you've all reached this page, go to the top left corner where you'll see cloud and click on Atlas. The MongoDB Atlas is the fully managed cloud database, which we will be using here. Now you all have to create a free account. So go here and click on start free. Now there are different methods to get signed in. You can sign up using Google. You can sign up using your information here. I will do it via Google. So there you go. You can access it whatever way you want. I will just use the demo ID for here. And there you go. We need to accept the sign up, submit it. And there you go. Welcome. We have successfully deployed here. Your account registration was a success. And there you go. It will open the base page up here. Just confirm if you all here. Just write yes in the chat and confirm you've all reached this page. We'll wait for 2 minutes.
Ayush, you can continue.
Okay. Now that we have that done, I want you to go and click on create a cluster here. Again, you can see it's free. So we'll create a cluster here. There you go. Now for the cloud provider and region, we will be using Azure. Here, you can use the region as Asia. And the cluster tier is very important. Please choose the free one unless you have $2,000. So the cluster tier, we use the 512 MB one. And again, it's as simple as that. Choose a cluster name, whatever name you want. We'll be going with cluster 0 itself, and then create cluster. Right. So as you can see right now, the cluster is being deployed. This does take a while. So while that is going on, we'll go over other things. You need to do two primary things before you can access the cluster. You need to give database access. So click on database access here, and you'll have different database users here. Now, if this is a new account, you would not be having any users. So you can go ahead and create a new user. I'm going to create a user called test. Remember this user's username and password because this will be used when when we're linking it. So there you go. I add the user. And the next thing you need to do is you need to give network access to it also. Now, a network access is basically what all IP addresses can access this API or this database for that matter, sorry. So we add the IP address here. You can add a current IP address, a particular IP address to access the database, but for the sake of convenience, we're going to be allowing access from anywhere. So that is 0.0.0, and we confirm that also. So that's done. Your network and database has been given access. You can go back and check on the cluster. The cluster will take some time to get deployed. So while we're doing that, let's just set up the code environment for. So you can head back to your app.js here, and we're going to be adding another dependency, which is called Mongoose. Mongoose is the dependency which we use to communicate with MongoDB. So right here in your terminal, you can write npm install --save Mongoose. So that will take some time to install. And meanwhile, your cluster is being created as well. Right. So now that you've installed Mongoose, you can go here and import it also. As done for all other dependencies, you go for constant. Mongoose is equal to require, and then again Mongoose. So that's done also. Now that you have all dependencies installed, you can head back to your cluster. As you can see, the cluster is still being deployed. It does take a while to do that. Meanwhile, you can talk about whatever database issues that have occurred. So, as I told you earlier, MongoDB is a NoSQL database. So, we use MongoDB for various operations. It is the trend to use MongoDB has increased over time, and there have been different debates whether using it locally or using it for the cloud have occurred. So, that is completely your choice. But because of this demonstration, we have decided to use the cloud version. So we'll wait here for 2 minutes until the cluster is deployed. And once your cluster is deployed, you can put yes in the chats. Okay, ours is done. So now we have three options here. We have connect, matrix, and collections. What we want to do is we want to connect it to an application. We click on connect. You will see three options here. We want to connect it to our application. There you go. And here you have the SRV. This is the most important line for connecting to database. This database is basically your URI to connect to the MongoDB server. It has your username here and your password. You can enter the password later on as you please. So what you want to do is you want to copy this. So click on copy here, and then you can head back to your code. Right. Now that we are back to our code, we want to use this somewhere. So we go for mongoose dot connect. This is your connection string. Paste your connection string right here. Once you're done with your connection string, you need to add another parameter to this function, which is basically you can read up about it in the documentation as well. So we're going to add it here, comma, and put in brackets, and we're going to add the parameters here. So the first parameter which we're going to be using is use new URL parser, and we're going to be setting it to true. The next thing which we want to do is we want to use unified topology. You can read about these. This is very detailedly given in the documentation. So with that, you have successfully connected your application to your MongoDB cluster. Just change password here to whatever password you had set for your user and the database name, which you can do later on. And that is how you connect it to a MongoDB server. Now I'll hand it over further to Himanshu Bhaiya to continue.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, thank you, Ayush. That issue that we were having with the presentation is now resolved. Rabia ma'am, if you would like to come off mute, we would like to pick it back up from the PPT itself. Rabia ma'am, are you there?
Yeah, hello, I'm there.
Hello,
So
ma'am.
where is the PPT being displayed?
Ma'am, it will be displayed on the YouTube live stream. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Rabia Sehgal, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Shubitech, a leading IT startup. It's an honor to present the profile of the company through this platform of MLS SRM. To have an insight of the company's operations, please visit www.shubitech.com. Yeah, you can change the slide now. Starting with the company's basic profile, Shubitech was established in 2019 by Mr. Priyakshkar. Shubitech works with the motive of explore and evolve. We work on web development, Android and iOS application development, ERP-based management system, cloud services, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and augmented reality. Yes. Next. We work for both small as well as large size business. Now, coming on the team, it's really well equipped with the skills required to run the business processes. We ensure quality and excellence in whatever we do. Yes, next. Okay. This says that all softwares designed by Shubitech are perceived as value for money, as all our designs are well developed based on the client's own requirements. Yeah, so this screen describes Shubitech's workflow. First, we get the user's requirements and then draft them, design them, and start developing them with the help of latest technology. After all the testing and timely delivery of the software, it's always good to celebrate. Yeah, next. Yeah, so here we list the services provided by Shubitech. Okay, they include graphic designing, product design tool, web development, mobile app development, web designing, and digital marketing. Next. Okay, so all these services are further divided into categories, and we offer a variety of options. Next. Okay, yeah, so we are really happy to share with you that this is the article which was featured as the company spotlight in the most popular magazine of the startup city, titled as Silicon India by Autotech. Next. Coming on to our latest projects. This is the app developed by Shubitech. It is titled as Navigation System in AR. It is available in Play Store, so do download it. Next. Okay. This is DocScan ST, a document scanner app by Shubitech. It is available in both Play Store and App Store. This is the main idea to produce and promote Indian apps. Yeah, you can next now. Okay. So, moreover, we offer great opportunities for the talented students. Anyone who wishes to pursue can send their resumes at the company's email ID. Yeah, next. Okay, coming on to the agenda, the contented and satisfied customers are Shubitech's first priority. So, for this, we follow standard processes and ensure timely project delivery. Next. Here we mention our contact details, so anyone who aspires or has any queries can contact us with the following intel. Next. Yeah. So this was all about Shubitech and its features. Hope to connect with you all soon. Thank you for your precious time and your attention.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a lovely presentation. Would you be interested in taking some questions from the chat from our participants?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, Anisha, can we have some questions? Do we have anything? Anisha Mohanty?
Yes, we do have two questions. Ma'am, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you again for giving the internship opportunity to our students. And the question that we have by Avnish Sangvi is that by when can they expect a response from Shubitek regarding the internship?
Yeah, as I already mentioned, you can send your resumes to us at the company's email ID, which we have mentioned in the presentation. So as soon as you send, we'll first read them and then sure we'll respond to you.
Okay, ma'am. I hope that makes things clearer. Mao Basin asks, would they be getting permanent job offers as well after, like, if they perform well in the internships?
Yeah, this is totally based on your job performance. Sorry, internship performance. Okay. As you perform, you'll be evaluated on that basis and then give a further opportunities.
Thank you, ma'am. Avnish has another question that Shubitech offers internships for a minimum duration of 45 days. Is there, I'll assume that the question is that, is there a maximum duration that you give internships for?
No, the minimum is guaranteed as 45-day internship, and this duration is enough to evaluate any kind of work. So on that basis, we tell you that how much duration you can work for further.
Okay, so that means an extension in the ongoing internship itself.
Yeah, an extension also and other offers also.
Okay, we have one common question which is from Suhana, Kaushik, and Naman.
Okay.
What are the skills you're looking for in your interns?
What are the skills? See, for web development, we have open are the opportunities. Okay, and then we look for the graphic designers. Basic skills are they should be curious and talented. Okay, they should apply their hand on everything or anything we provide them to work on.
Okay, ma'am, what all other domains and projects other than API deployment does Shubitech work for? You just mentioned graphic designing and web development, right? Would those be the domains you're looking for, like interns for?
No, they're open for all the features we work for, like digital marketing also. Then graphic designing, web development, mobile app development. Opportunities are open in all the streams.
Thank you, ma'am. I think there's just one last question left. Snehil asks, would there be a stipend for the duration of the internship?
No, the first 45 days are basically the not paid duration because they're just for the evaluation basis. And then, according to your work, we shall provide.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I think that clears up a lot for the students attending. Uh, yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll pass it on to Shantanu Bhaiya right now.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Shubitech, for sponsoring our event as an event partner and providing the students with this opportunity of internships. And also thank you to Priyank sir for joining us, Priyak sir for joining us at this event.
Thank you.
We will now be moving on to the next session, carrying it forward. Do we have Himanshu with us? Himanshu?
Yeah, just a sec.
Yeah, sure.
All right, guys. So my name is Himanshu, and I'm the tech lead at MLSA SRM, and I'm a software developer with a bit of interest in cybersecurity. So I'm in my final year right now, and I've been with the club for quite some time now. And yeah, so anyways, we are not here to talk about me. So let's get right to the topic. Firstly, congrats if you have made it so far. I know most of the concepts were tough for you right now and the pace might not be right, but I'm sure you have understand some concepts and learn something new. And just this one last step where we link our database, where I link our code with the database, and then we will start deploying and we'll be done with it. So stick around with me. Some things might get a little tough, but we'll do them a few times and you will start getting a hang of them real quick. So to give you an overview of what we have done so far, we have created a server in server.js. In app.js, we have linked our database to a code. We have used Morgan. We have used the course removal, and we have set up the routes in facts.js. So in facts.js, we have set up the basic routes, which don't do anything as of now because they are not linked to Mongo. They are just used to send a particular request. So we will start with that soon. So before we begin, we need to understand that why we are using Mongo. So if most of you are not familiar with the Mongo database structure, you need to understand that Mongo is way more flexible than SQL. Like in SQL, you have definite tables and rows which take the same queries. Mongo database looks a bit like JSON. So for example, you guys don't need to follow this. I'm just explaining it to you. So for example, if you're storing a database for your blog, so the database can look something like this. It can have an ID, whatever ID of the blog. The blog can have a title. Suppose the title is my blog, and then the blog will have content, and the content will be anything. And then the blog will have some comments, and the comments can again be nested. So each comment will have a name of the person who commented. So suppose Himanshu commented, and then it will have the comment. So like rate blog, and then you can have like multiple of these inside. So this is what basically a JSON or Mongo database looks like. Okay, so like we all know SQL is structured, Mongo is non-structured database. Now, and so in SQL we have tables and rows, and in Mongo we can have collections and documents. So now you can delete this. So before we begin, I want you to create a folder inside the routes folder called models. Inside models, create a file called fact.js. It should be singular. So just to show you what the folder structure looks like, you have your API folder. Inside API, you have routes. Inside routes, you have models and facts.js. Inside models, we have singular fact.js. Okay, so getting back to fact.js, in fact.js, we are going to create a schema. So what is a schema basically? So a schema is a JSON object that allows you to define the shape and content of documents. So like in SQL, you define what value each column will have. Similarly, that part is done by a schema in JSON in Mongo. So to create a schema, firstly, we will start with importing Mongo. So let's call it Mongoose, just like we required it in the app.js file. You can require Mongoose here, and then we will create a schema. Create a schema. We will call it a fact schema. Const fact schema is equal to mongoose dot schema, the inbuilt function that Mongoose offer, and we will pass in an object. So the object will have each fact we post will have one ID. Post we will have a name, and each fact we post will have an author who wrote that fact. Okay, so now we know that the name will be a string and the author will be a string. But what about the ID? So we want Mongoose to generate a new ID every time, a new unique ID every time we post a fact to uniquely identify it. For that, we will use the inbuilt function that Mongoose offer, mongoose.schema.types.object_id. That's it. This is the part which creates a schema and defines what the fact structure will look like. Every fact will have an ID, a name, and an author. Now we will export the model. Export the model, we will just use module.exports is equal to mongoose.model. Here, the first parameter is the name of the model. We will call it fact. And the second parameter is the name of the schema. Like what schema does this model have? This model has a schema called fact schema. So we will pass here fact schema. That's it. We are done with fact.js. You can save this file. So I'm sure you guys have been able to follow along till here. You can save this file. So to proceed, now we need to apply these changes here in the facts.js. You don't need to create collections in Mongo. You can just start using them. Like as soon as we send a request, it will automatically create a collection called facts. So in facts.js, we have already required Express. Now we will require Mongoose here as well. So again, the same way we did in the other two files, we will go const mongoose is equal to require mongoose. And now we need to import the fact.js as well. For that, we will go const fact is equal to require models fact. You don't need to write .js, it will automatically apply it. So when you have done this far, now let's modify the post request. Here we have used this, but this works on localhost only. We need to apply these things on the Mongo database. So let's comment this out and start writing again. So as you can see, like we imported the fact model. Now we will create a new instance of this. Create a new instance of the model. So to create a new instance, we use the new keyword, which is const fact is equal to new fact. Now, as we said earlier, each fact will have an ID, which will be new ID generated by Mongoose every time we post a fact, so that things don't collide. Like in SQL, we have a primary key dot object ID, and each fact will have a name. The name will be passed in the body, like earlier we did in localhost request.body.name, request.body name, and it will have an author, which will again be passed by body request.body. Okay, so things might get a little tough now, but just stick with us with some time, and you'll start to get a hang of them real quick. We'll do these things 2-3 times, so you'll start understanding them. So now, the new instance that we have created, we will use this instance to post a fact. So fact dot save is the function inbuilt in Mongoose. This will save our fact to the database. Another important concept now, so I want you to pay attention here. Dot save will act as a promise. So now we will ask, what is a promise in JavaScript? A promise is just what it sounds like. A promise is your commitment to something. When you say that you promise, that means you are committing to it. The promise will either have two results. You will either be able to fulfill your promise, or you won't be able to fulfill your promise. So if you are able to fulfill the promise, suppose I promised you to deliver a great lecture. So if I am able to fulfill the promise was successful. And if I'm not able to deliver you a great lecture, then promise was not successful. So in case this dot save is successful, I will call the dot then method. And if this dot save is not successful, then I will call the dot catch method. Now we are going to add some parameters in these methods, so it is cleaner to separate them in different lines to make the code look neat. So fact dot save dot then and then dot catch. So if we are able to successfully save the fact, the Mongoose here sends us some data back that, hey, I was able to save your data. Here is the result. Now, whatever data it sends us back, if it is able to successfully save, we are going to store it in a variable called result. The variable called result, we will use the arrow function, which is being used to declare the anonymous function here. We say that, hey, you were successfully able to save my result. You were successfully able to save my fact. Now we will store the data it sends us in result, and we will console log the result. And if it is not able to successfully save our fact, it will send us some error that this was the error. I was not able to save your fact. And we will console log the fact, console log the error. Now this information was sent to Mongo. But what about the server? And again, we need to send this status code of 200 that, hey, your post request worked and the fact was created. Let me just type npm start on my server. Save this file, npm start. I hope you have been able to follow up. If anyone from the team can tell me, you can type yes if you have been able to follow up till here. So as you saw that the node server has started, it said starting node server. Now we will switch to Postman, and we will go to localhost 3000 facts, make a post request, go to the body tab, and I have a fact written here. Let's type a new fact. So let's say MLSA is the best club. Okay, so the fact will have a name, MLS is the best club, and it will have an author. Let's say SRM said it. And when I click on send, it said that, hey, your post request worked. The created fact has an ID, a unique ID that Mongoose generated on itself, a name of the fact that is MLS is the best club, and the author that is SR. So when we switch back to our Visual Studio Code, you can see that a status code of 200 was sent. This part is being done by Morgan. So again, the same thing is being logged here as well. So now you can see that no matter what the result is, like if it is being able to save the fact or not, we are passing the status code 200 to server. But we should not be doing that. Instead, let me cut this from here, and if the result was saved successfully, then I'll pass the status code 200. And if it was not saved successfully, then I'll pass the status code 500, that hey, I was not able to save your fact. There was some error. 500 is for not okay. Status code 200 is for okay, and 500 is that server was not able to process your request for whatever reason. So you can see that rest.status 200, and we will send the data in JSON format, that message post request work created fact. And if it throws some error, we will console log the error and rest.status 500, that error which is being shown. So hey, we have successfully created the post. Now let's try to send another request and see. So let's say, okay, winter is coming. Some Game of Thrones fan in the house. So who said it? Ned Stark. So now when I post this fact, you can see that post request works, created fact, and it has an ID, name, and author. And now when I switch back to my Mongoose cluster, you can see that your cluster here was deployed. I will go to collections. It said retrieving list of objects. It might take some time. Mongo database, the free tier is usually slow. So if you are planning to deploying it for user usability, you might need to upgrade. So I have posted some facts beforehand as well. You can see here that my document was created facts on my own. I did not create it. It created it on its own. I just created the schema and called it. And you can see that my fact here has been saved. Winter is coming, net start. And MLS is the best club, author is SRM. So you have successfully posted your fact to Mongo database using Mongoose. So congrats, you can give yourself a pat on the back. Now we will move on to the get function. You were successfully able to post a fact, but what if we want to get the facts, like all the facts that have been stored? To get a function, you need, in this case, we don't need to create an instance. We will use the fact that we imported directly. We will go fact.find. What .find does is it finds all the objects that are stored in the database. After it finds, we will execute this query, and if it's successfully able to execute, we will save it. We will pass on the control to .then, and if it throws some error, we will save it. Okay, I see that some of you need a break right now, so we will slow down here, and I will start again in 2 minutes if you guys are able to catch up. So guys, you can see the cluster that we created. To see the facts that we posted, you can go to collections, and inside collections, you can click here on facts to load all the facts that has been posted. These facts were posted while we were testing. You can see here that the facts that we posted just now from Postman were saved. To see the code, I'll explain it once again. So we created a new instance of the fact. We assigned it a new ID, new mongoose ID, that mongoose generate itself, alphanumeric ID. Then we give it a name from body. Then we give it an author, and we call the function fact.save. Now, .save is a promise. If it is able to resolve the promise, the control is passed to .then. When we are able to save the fact, mongoose sends us a little bit of data. That data is stored in result, and we console log the result, and status code 200 is being sent. And if it is not able to save the fact, then the control is being passed to .catch, and it sends us the error, whatever error it encountered while not being able to save the fact, and we console log the error. So I hope you have been able to catch up. So we will start with the get query now to all the facts. To get a fact, we go fact.find. What .find does is it finds all the objects that have been stored, and then we execute this query. And if .execute is being able to successfully execute, then we pass on the control to .then. And if it is not being able to successfully execute, then we will pass on the control to .catch. Now, if it is able to successfully execute, we will come here to .result, and we will console log the result. And if it is not able to successfully execute, it will send some data, and we will console log the error. Now again, if all of it was successful, we said, hey, everything was okay and as planned. So the status code 200 will be sent, status code 200.json, and we can pass the result. And if it was not okay, it encountered some error while processing the request. The status code of 500 will be sent that, hey, I encountered some problem. If it, you can see because of Nodemon, our server will restart again. We won't have to do it on our own. Every time I made some change, it will restart the server very quickly on its own. Now, when I go to Postman and switch to GET request, I go to localhost 3000/facts and make a GET request. When I click on send, you can see I receive an array of objects consisting of all the facts that I have posted. So this was the fact we recently posted. Winter is coming. MLS is the best club. And here will be a list of all the facts that you have posted. You can see that these are the same as the ones stored on our MongoDB database. 5 facts. All of them are here. Good. Very simple code, fact.find.execute. .execute is a promise. If successful, then .then. If not, then .catch. So now we have been successful in posting a fact, and we have been successful in getting all the facts. But what if you want to delete a particular fact? Suppose you accidentally posted a fact that you don't want there right now. You can obviously go to the Mongo database and do it yourself, but let's try to do it with the code. So you can see that to access a particular fact, we pass the fact's ID. So I'll store the ID that we passed in a variable called ID. Const ID is equal to request.params. Because this fact's ID was passed in the URL parameter, it will be accessed by request.params.facts ID. And this should be same. So once you have done this, we will go fact.remove.execute this query. then dot then, and if not successful, then dot catch. And again, it can get a little messy, so best if you put them in separate lines. So now remove here asks for a parameter. What do you want me to remove? We will pass the ID that, hey, remove the ID that I sent you, and then dot execute this query. If successfully removed, it will send us some data. We will use the arrow function. Similar things, you must have started to get a hold of it now. We'll console.log the result, and if not, it will send us the error, and we will console.log the error. Now again, status codes. Typing, I can just copy paste, but I'm typing this again and again so you guys understand it well. JSON third and error res dot code of 500 dot JSON. Now this will delete the fact from our database. Now when I click save, you can see that our server has restarted. I will go to my postman and click send. This gets me a list of all the facts that were posted. Let me copy this ID. I click Control C copy, and let me go to this. As you can see in the code, the ID was passed in the URL localhost/fact/facts ID. So I will pass the ID here, and I will send a delete request. When I click on send, it said deleted count 1. That means our fact has been successfully deleted. Now when I go to get request again and click send, you will see that the sun rises in the west for the fact that I posted it has been deleted. Let me delete this one also. Winter is coming, as it has already come. I'll go to delete and pass the ID and click send. You can see deleted count 1, and now when I go back to get all the facts, you can see that that fact has been deleted in itself. So you can check that all these places are taking place in the Mongo at least database as well. All this is real time. When I go to facts, only 3 facts are left, and the other 2 facts have been deleted indeed. So I'll wait for some time. You can put a thumbs up in the chat if you have been able to follow along or understand what's going on. Just one last step for what you all are here. As this operation gets a list of all the facts, but as we showed you in the beginning, we are here to get a random fact generator. So I don't want this. I want to get a random fact. So we'll start working on that as soon as I see a couple of thumbs up in chat. Okay, so moving on, as this was used to get all the facts, I'll comment this out, and now we will try to get a random fact from the database. So to do that, I'll again go fact.count. But this counted fact.count documents. What this does is get a count of all the number of facts that have been stored in the database. So fact.countDocuments.exec, execute this query. I'll put them in different lines. But now .execute, in .execute, we can pass a function as a parameter. So for that, we will pass two parameters. We will use an anonymous function and we will implement that using the arrow function. We'll pass two parameters in the function, error and count, and then use the arrow function. Now, this .execute, inside this, we will generate a random number. Let's call it random, where random is equal to math.flow math.random into count. What this function does is generates a random index value for the array. Make sure you put the asterisk here and not into to multiply it. So what where random will store, it will store a random index value of the array. When I counted the documents, it will pass me a value called count. Now math.random generates a number between 0 and 1. So suppose it generated 0.5. Now when I multiply 0.5 with the number of facts that are stored in the database, that is 3 right now. So 0.5 into 3 will be 1.5. And now we will take the floor value of this number. So that is the 1. So this function will help us generate a random index value of the array. Now after it has been executed, if the random number has been generated, we will implement fact.find1. This will help us find a particular fact and that skip to the random fact. After this is done, we will pass .execute, and after this is executed, again as said earlier, if successfully resolved promise, then .then, otherwise .catch. That's it guys, this is as difficult as it gets. So if you have been able to get a hold of it, great. Otherwise, we will go through it one more time. So fact.find1 returns an array and .skip random skips to the random index value. What is random? Random is the number we generated from this function. So when this is executed, let's repeat what we did again. It gives us some information in result. We will console log the result, and if successful, we will send a status code of 200.json result, and if not successful, this will be inside .then, and if not successful, it will throw us some error, and we will console log the error and send a status code of 500. So let's clean this code a bit and comment get a random fact. So here we counted the documents first. That is the number of facts, which is 3 right now. And we stored the result in count. After we store a result in count, we generate a random index value using this. After that random index value is generated, we find it, we skip to the .find1 results and array of objects. We move to the random index value and execute this query. If it is successfully executed, we console log the result. If it is not successfully executed, we console log the error. That's it guys. As you can see that our server has restarted again. Now when I go to get and click send, it gave me sky is blue. When I click send again, it gave me another fact. The world's quietest room is located in Microsoft. This is true as far as I know. And when I click send again, it said MLS is the best club. So you can see that it will send me a random fact every time I click send. So now we are done with the code, basic code that we use to post a fact, delete a fact, and get all the facts, as well as get a random fact. So now it's about time. Suppose someone else wants to use it. All of this is currently running on my local host. But what if I want to give this API to you and you have to use it? So we can host this API and allow everyone else to use it. So that will be done with Azure. We will now host this API and that part will be covered by me. So I hope you were able to learn something new today, and let's get to hosting this API. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so this is Bihir. I have been the ML developer at Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors SRM for over a year now. And today I'll be walking you through the last step of building an API, deploying it. So even though you have developed your own API, it won't be of much use to others if it runs only on your local host. To fix that, we'll be deploying the API on the web for everyone to use. For this, we'll be looking at Azure. Azure is a cloud computing platform consisting of many services that can help you store, run, or manage your apps on the web. The service we're interested in today is known as the app service. Now, one of the great things about working inside the Microsoft environment is that VS Code offers an extension for easy deployment to Azure. For those of you who haven't used VS Code before, let me walk you through installing the extension. So I want you to go to the marketplace, which is this icon right here, or you can use the hotkey Control Shift plus X. This will open up the marketplace and you can search for Azure. The first or the second result should be the Azure App Service. I want you to install this Azure App Service extension. While this is being installed, let me just ask you, how many of you have actually signed up for Azure as it was mentioned, as the links were mentioned in the GitHub that was shared? If you've signed up for Azure, you can put it in the chat. Okay, so let's just sign up for Azure right now. So I want you to go to your browser and search for Azure Student Free Account. It should prompt you for a link, Azure for Students. Click on this link. It should lead you to this page. Click on Activate Now. Now, in order to use Azure, you would have to sign up first for a Microsoft account. If you have a Microsoft account using your organizational email, that's great. If not, we can look into it right now. So on this page, I want you to create a new Microsoft account by clicking on Create One. Here, enter your organizational email. For example, me studying in SRM, we have been provided with an organizational email from SRM. It will prompt you to create a password. And it will ask you to verify your email. It would probably prompt you for a CAPTCHA. And after having signed up for Microsoft, you will be redirected automatically to the Azure sign up. You need to enter your country code. For me, it would be India, and your phone number. You can choose to receive an OTP through text or call. Once you verify your phone number, it'll ask you for a verification method. And as we are using the organizational email, I'm going to enter my school email address. And re-enter to confirm. Then click on verify academic status. A verification email has been sent. It should be in your email. It will contain a link that would redirect you So now we've received the confirmation email. It contains a link for redirection. Click on that link. This, I think, should be the last step to set up your account in Azure. One of the good things about Azure is that it has many services under its umbrella. As we discussed before, the service in question today is the app service. In fact, it also has a free quota that we'll be using today. Oh, so we have to fill in a few more details, like your first name, your last name, the email address has been auto-filled, your phone number, your organization. For me, it would be the name of my college. The PAN ID is optional. So this would redirect us to the agreement. You just have to click the subscription agreement. If you want any updates from Microsoft regarding Azure and other products, you can also click on this. For now, I'm just gonna skip this because who likes spam? Once Azure confirms my information, I should be redirected to the portal for Azure. However, as I said before, we won't really be using the portal, but we'd be working with the Azure App Servers extension inside VS Code. So once you see this page, this means you have been redirected to the Azure portal. So now we'll go back to the VS Code. Our extension has finished installing. And if you install the extension in your VS Code, you would see a new icon pop up, which would have the Azure logo. You can click on that or press Ctrl Shift A. It will give you the options to sign into Azure. This should redirect you to a browser. Where you can sign into your Azure account. Once signed in, you can close this page. And as we can see, the options have been replaced by this dropdown. This is a subscription. For all the services, or more specifically for any set of services that you create on Azure, you have subscriptions. The default subscription when signing up for the student account is Azure for Students. That drop down right now is empty. It's because we haven't made any app services yet. So let's click on the plus icon to create a new web app. It would ask me for a name. Now, this name would also be the default URL for the web app. So please make sure to choose a name that is unique. For now, I'm going to choose the name random code MLSA. Secondly, it would ask you to select a runtime for your new Linux app. Now, any app service is just an environment. It's a closed environment which runs the code for your API. So we need to select the runtime in which the API has been developed. In order to check your runtime, you can do node -- version. The flag -- version should let us know the version of Node we are working with. As it says Node 12, I'm going to choose Node 12 LTS. Once that's chosen, on your bottom right, you must get a prompt for registering providers. What this is basically Azure now trying to provision a new app service for your account. So this might take some time, and let me take this time to remind you that as Shantanu Bhaiya mentioned at the start of the workshop, you will be receiving a feedback link. That feedback link would have option to submit your API also. To everyone who submits the feedback will receive the certificate and BF-proof coupons. To everyone who submits the API, you will receive the .xyz free domains. To top 3 winners and the APIs which we like and are creative, we'll reward them with a chance to land an internship with Shubhitech, our sponsors, and free Azure passes. Now, what do you have to submit? You can either submit the API that you have built along with us during this workshop, or you can make a few changes to it to make it better. Maybe add new endpoints like a new request such as patch, delete, or maybe a get request just to fetch a particular fact according to ID, or maybe you can have your own spin at it. You have 24 hours to submit this feedback along with the API. The time would start right after this event ends. You can find all the code on our GitHub, and the link will be shared after the event. So once Azure is done with provisioning a new app service, we would have to deploy our code to that app service. As Azure says, it has created a new app, and the default URL for the app is also displayed. We can click on deploy to push all our code to the app service. As you can see here, the app service, the code is now being deployed to the app service. Earlier, the app service was being provisioned. Now the code is being uploaded to be run in the environment.
All right, Mihir, I guess until it is being deployed, I can walk them through the feedback form process.
Okay, so until it's being deployed, Himanshu Bhaiya would walk you through the feedback form process.
So guys, what we want you to do next is, as you have already created a fact.j, a random fact getter API at a slash fact endpoint. What we want you to do next is create another endpoint to the same API. So for example, you used for that, what you will need to do is firstly create a route, like just like const fact routes you did, you can add a const riddle routes, and you can use app.use slash riddle routes. And then inside models, you will need to create a schema for the riddle route. For example, here I created a riddle schema. Every riddle will have a question and every riddle will have an answer. So after that schema is created, I will create a riddle.js file. This will be the code to post a riddle. For example, I can post a riddle with the question and answer being passed in the body. This will be the code to delete a riddle if I want to delete a particular riddle. And this will be the code to get a random riddle from the database. So if I go to Postman right now and go to localhost 3000 slash facts and run a GET request, it will send me a random fact. The unicorn is the national animal of Scotland. I don't know why. And if I go to / riddles, then it will send me a random riddle. For example, who let the dogs out? Who. Similarly, I can post the riddles as well. So if we want you to create this another endpoint in your API and go to this feedback form that we will provide you soon, give your name, email ID, give your honest feedback if you have any comments, and whether you want to submit your API or not. If you do not submit your API, then you will only be eligible for the Payfoof coupons and the certificates. However, if you submit your API, then you will be eligible for internships from Shubitech, Azure Credits, .xyz domains, as well as the certificates and coupons, special exclusive coupons for the ones who submit their API. So after you click yes, you can put the various endpoints you created. For example, I showed you .facts and /facts and /riddles, and then you can tell us what is the parameter structure of that request. For example, if you want to test your API, and then anything else that you would like us to know about your API. That's it. Just this tiny form, which will take 5 minutes, and creating another endpoint will also take around 5 minutes if you have understood the one we created along with you. So this should not take long, and you would be able to successfully be eligible for this various process that we have lined up for you. So I'm sure that your API would be deployed by now. Let's switch back to me. Thanks a lot, guys.
So as you can see, our API has been deployed, and VS Code gives a notification deployment to the URL name completed. You can either click on browse website or set up your request in your Postman. We'll try out the URL. And as you can see, it has been successfully deployed. Now, your API has now been deployed to the web, but we can't share it and ask them to download Postman or just check a boring JSON. So what we can do is build this API into other apps. For example, we have a sample React app to demonstrate. This React app has an interface, has a very basic user interface, and the API is running behind the scenes. Once the API loads, you should see an API. The API's response to the GET request on the screen. Now, if some of you are wondering, why does my API have a delay for the first request? This is because all app services on Azure are tuned for optimization. In order to optimize a free quota for the app service is not run throughout the day, but it's run only when it features a request. So as you can see, we have the get request. If we refresh, we can see the random codes appearing. So guys, this is how you can build an API, deploy it, and build it into your web apps. As an extra feature, let me show you the code for this React app. Going through the basics of JavaScript and Node.js throughout this workshop, you can see us using a GET request and the URL for an API. This URL was for the API that was being used to demonstrate to you the GET and the POST requests at the very beginning of this workshop. So thank you for attending, and handing over to Shantanu Bhaiya.
Thanks, Mihir. I'll just put up the feedback link for everyone so that they can start with the API challenge. The link will also be in the chat. So you will have 24 hours to fill that form. If you want to submit an API, I suggest that you hold out and get your API ready first, and then you fill that form. Once again, for everyone who submits their API, I'll just put that in the chat. Yep. Everyone who submits their API gets access to a free XYZ domain from our sponsors.xyz. Shubitech internships for those who submit the best APIs, as well as bivcoop.com coupons. Feedback is necessary if you want a certificate. Submission of API is optional. However, submission of an API is what is getting you the most rewards. Again, you will have 24 hours starting now, 9 p.m. till tomorrow, 7th of September, 9 p.m. to fill up the form, submit your APIs, and get a chance at winning internships at Shubitech. All right, guys, thank you everyone for coming in. That would be it from our side. And I hope everyone participates in the API challenge. And we hope to see you soon in our upcoming events. Thank you.